She wasn't allowed in the cockpit. She didn't have a rank. She wasn't even supposed to touch the flight board. But when 6 fighter jets were lost in a storm, blinded by enemy jamming, running out of fuel, the only voice they trusted came from the woman on the ground, the one everyone called just ground crew. This is the true story of Lena Maroe, the quiet technician who never flew a mission, but saved an entire squadron. Because sometimes the safest place for a hero is with both feet on the ground. It was 6:30 a.m. The air was crisp, the base still half asleep. But Lena Maroe was already wide awake. Not because of the alarm, but because she never really slept through the night. Her mind was always working, calculating, analyzing, preparing for a moment she hoped would never come. She stood in the maintenance hangar of Tactical Air Base G47, a small figure in a grease-stained uniform, brown hair pulled back in a tight bun. At 28, with a French-Austrian heritage and a frame so slight she looked like a strong wind might carry her away, Lena didn't fit the image of someone who could command the skies. She was ground crew, refueled jets, checked hydraulic systems, verified tire pressure. No wings on her uniform, no rank, no authority. Just a wrench, a notebook, and a quiet presence most pilots barely noticed. But Lena saw everything. That morning, she was in the command center, not by order, but by instinct. On the tactical flight board, she was marking detailed combat diagrams, recalibrating wind patterns, adjusting for high-altitude turbulence with a precision that looked more like art than mechanics. An officer stormed in. "Your ground crew don't touch the tactical flight board," he snapped. Lena didn't flinch. She didn't argue. She just kept working, silent, focused, checking coordinates like her life depended on it. 5 minutes later, the radio crackled. "Base, this is Echo 6, requesting immediate flight lead. Code Echo 6 inches. A pause, then clearer this time. Repeat, I only fly when she leads." The room went dead silent. Every head turned toward Lena. Lena Maroe wasn't supposed to be there. Not in that room, not in that moment. To most, she was just the quiet technician who fixed things no one else paid attention to. The kind of person you'd forget existed until something broke. But she had spent years teaching herself what no one had asked her to learn. Advanced aerodynamics, radar countermeasures, thermal scatter mapping. She studied flight coordination protocols late into the night, not because she wanted glory, but because she knew one day knowledge might be the only thing standing between life and death. Pilots had laughed at her. "Stick to cleaning gauges," Captain Morrison once said, after she corrected a misaligned targeting system. "What does she know besides valve pressure?" Lieutenant Torres added with a smirk. They talked over her in briefings. Ignored. Her warnings about wind shear. Dismissed her insights as overstepping. So she learned to stay quiet, to watch, to remember, but she never stopped preparing. One afternoon during a violent crosswind, the auxiliary guidance system failed on an incoming F-16. Without hesitation, Lena manually adjusted stabilizer fins, recalibrating the landing path in real time. The pilot landed safely, climbed out, didn't even look at her. That was normal, expected, and that was fine. Because Lena didn't fix things for recognition. She fixed them because aircraft had to fly. Pilots had to come home. The mission mattered more than her pride. Hen came the morning that changed everything. 6:30. The klaxon screamed through the base. All stations, scramble alert. Echo Squadron, 6 F-16s, had engaged hostile aircraft in Sector 7. Electronic jamming had knocked out GPS, inertial guidance, and radar. Navigation systems were failing. Fuel was running low. One pilot was injured. Lieutenant Colonel Hayes tried to coordinate the recovery, but the flight lead officer was away. The backup was sick. The duty officer had never handled combat recovery under electronic warfare. And the automated weather systems? Down, jammed, blind. From the hangar intercom, Lena heard the distress call. "Base, this is Echo 6, actual. We are Winchester on missiles, low on fuel, injured crew. Need immediate RTB guidance." She set down her tools, walked to the auxiliary control station, an old isolated system not affected by the jamming. She began calculating. Wind speed, thermal updrafts, pressure differentials, fuel burn rates, flight vectors, by hand. She plotted a new route, safer than the standard one, but requiring precision no computer could deliver right now. Major Richards, the maintenance supervisor, spotted her. "Maroe, what are you doing at that station?" "Sir, I'm calculating backup navigation data for Echo Squadron. You're ground crew. That's not your job. Get back to work." Lena looked at her notes. The standard route would take the squadron through a wind shear zone, deadly for aircraft with failing systems. But she said nothing, just walked away, and kept listening. 20 minutes passed. Conditions worsened. "Base, Echo 6, bingo fuel in 15 minutes, requesting emergency landing procedures." The control room was paralyzed. No data, no systems, no plan. Then over the radio came a voice that silenced the chaos. "Base, this is Echo 6 actual, requesting specific flight lead. Call sign, Ground Angel." Silence. "Echo 6, say again. Unknown call sign." "Affirmative, base. Verify with maintenance section. French-Austrian female, 28, brown hair. She has guided Echo flights before." Richards turned, looked at Lena. Pieces clicked. 3 months ago, an F-16 had landed safely during a training exercise. Navigation dead, radar gone. The pilot reported being guided in by an unknown voice. The report was buried, classified, but the pilot that night was Captain Matteo Girard, and now he was calling for her again. 3 years earlier, Lena wasn't ground crew. She was an aviation engineering intern at the European Air Force Strategic Testing Center, developing emergency protocols for aircraft with failed systems. One night during a training flight, an F-16 lost all navigation. The tower wanted the pilot to eject. But Lena, working late in the auxiliary control room, picked up the distress signal. Without authorization, without permission, without anyone knowing who she was, she took the microphone and talked the pilot home. Altitude adjustments, heading corrections, landing vectors, all calculated by hand. The plane landed safely. The pilot never saw her face, never learned her name, but he remembered the voice, calm, precise, unshakable. And when he was transferred to G47 months later, he recognized something in the quiet technician who serviced his jet. The way she moved, the questions she asked, the way she looked at a fuel gauge like she was reading a novel. One day he asked, "Ever done any flight coordination work?" She paused. "Why do you ask?" "Because you know more about these planes than most pilots." That's when he realized she was the voice. She was the one who saved him. Now with 6 aircraft in the sky, fuel running out, and jamming blinding the base, Girard wasn't taking chances. "Base, this is Echo 6. I need Ground Angel on the flight coordination frequency. Immediately. We're running out of time." Richards looked at Lena. "Maroe, explain." She took a breath. "Sir, I have unofficial training in emergency flight coordination. European Air Force Strategic Testing Center. I was part of the team that developed manual recovery protocols." "Why wasn't this on your file?" "It was classified, and when I transferred to ground crew, I thought I was done with flight ops." Another transmission, Base Echo 6, bingo fuel in 15 minutes. Need guidance or we'll have to attempt emergency landings. Richards looked at Lena. "Can you really guide them home?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes, sir, but I'll need access to the auxiliary radar and manual systems." "Do it." Lena stepped to the station. Her calculations were still there. She picked up the microphone. "Echo Squadron, this is Ground Angel. I have your position and atmospheric conditions. Prepare for manual navigation guidance." A beat, then relief in the static. "Ground Angel, Echo 6 actual, we are ready." And so it began. "Echo 6, descend to flight level 200, heading 270, wind compensation -3 degrees right. Echo 2, adjust to 265, you're drifting into wind shear. Echo 4, increase speed to 280 knots. Weather front approaching from northwest." Her voice was calm, clear, commanding. No hesitation, no fear. She wasn't just guiding them, she was leading them. Richards watched in awe as Lena coordinated 6 combat aircraft using nothing but math, instinct, and raw data, tasks that normally required a team and advanced systems. She was doing alone, by hand. 20 minutes later, the first F-16 appeared on the horizon, then the second, third. All 6 landed in perfect formation, with fuel to spare. Captain Gerard was the first to approach her. He pulled off his helmet, walked straight to her. "Ground Angel," he said, extending his hand. "Thank you, again." Lena shook it. "Just doing my job, Captain." "No," he said. "You were doing everyone's job, better than anyone else could have." Other pilots gathered. Each wanted to thank her. But Lena stepped back. "I should get back to my duties," she said, heading toward the hangar. Richard stopped her. "Maroe, you're not ground crew anymore. Effective immediately, you're being transferred to flight operations." Lena shook her head. "Sir, I prefer to stay here." "Why?" She looked at the F-16s, now safely parked. "Because usually the aircraft come home, whether I coordinate them or not. But if I don't maintain them properly, they might not come home at all." She turned to him. "These planes need someone who understands how to fix them and how to fly them. That's what I can do, as ground crew." Richards nodded slowly. "But you'll be available for flight coordination? When needed?" "When needed," she said. "Yes, sir." That evening, a small metal plaque appeared on the auxiliary control station. No one knew who put it there. It read, "She was not in the air, but she led the sky." Lena Maroe still works at G47, still checks fuel lines, still tests hydraulics, still keeps her notebook filled with calculations no one asked for. But now pilots seek her out. They ask her opinion on weather, on fuel loads, on tactical routes. The military offered her pilot training, flight coordinator roles, promotions. She declined them all. "I fix things that are broken," she says. "Sometimes it's an engine. Sometimes it's a flight path. Sometimes it's a person who's lost." Lena never wanted to be seen, never asked for credit, never needed a title. But when the systems failed, when the data vanished, when the sky turned against them, she was the one who stepped forward. Not because she was ordered, but because someone had to. She proves that real leadership doesn't come from rank. It comes from knowledge, from courage, from the quiet decision to act, even when no one gave you permission. Some of the most important missions are accomplished by people who never officially qualified for them. And sometimes the safest hands to guide you home belong to someone who never left the ground. If you've ever done the right thing when no one told you to, if you've ever helped someone using skills you weren't supposed to have, then you understand Lena's story. Because real heroes don't always wear wings. Sometimes they wear wrenches. And they lead the sky from the ground. If this story moved you, leave a comment and subscribe to Beyond True Stories, where we honor the quiet ones who change everything. Real people, real courage, not AI.